Let's go, girls.
Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe.
Yo, let's go. Welcome back. It's Women Talking Football, or WTF for short. Of course, not to be confused with WFT. My name is Mallory Hartley. I'm the associate producer here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live, once again hosting my favorite show on planet Earth. And sitting to the left of me, she is the AP to my AP. It's AP! Ashley Pickle. Hey. It's been a while since we've been in these chairs. I mean, we have been together.
Yes.
For the past 3 weeks. Like, we have seen each other almost every day for the past 3 weeks. We just have not seen everybody else in this office for the past 3 weeks.
That is very true.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, we took some time off. We went out of the country for almost 2 weeks. We went to Europe, specifically Italy, for 2 weeks. And when I tell you, that was one of the best. We don't have to spend too much time on it, but that was an absolute trip of a lifetime.
It was incredible.
It was just amazing.
It really, really was. We went top. Can you hear me? Because I can't hear myself.
I can hear you.
Okay. Just making sure that people can hear me.
I can absolutely hear you.
We went top to bottom, saw what felt like every square inch of that country, and it was everything that it was cracked up to be. 8 of us, big old friend trip, which was, I put that on my social media post, and I meant that. It's crazy that when you get to go see that beautiful country and you get to see all those sights and do everything that we did, that my favorite part about it was the company that we had.
I know.
That's sick.
It was so awesome. I mean, I think it just makes it so much better doing it with a big group of people. Not to say that you can't go with your significant other one day, you know, but going on a trip like that with a group of people, you're always surrounded with so much fun. And the great thing about our group was that everybody was down to do everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We did, we spent one day specifically in Capri it was kind of like the adrenaline junkies portion of the trip. We rode Vespas all around the island. We took a chairlift up to the very top. And when I say chairlift, I mean you were in a singular little bitty wooden chair by yourself for 13 minutes going up to the top of the mountain.
And that was the only time that we ever really got alone.
Yeah.
I mean, because we were with each other all the time. You know,
we had 26 minutes of alone time out of 2 weeks. And then we also did some cliff diving that day. So
it was not cliff, it was rock diving.
That's a cliff.
There's a difference between a rock and a cliff. In the sense of it being much smaller than
I wonder what
cliff.
Okay, V&A, can you Google what the height requirement is for it to be a cliff? I mean, technically a cliff is falling off of the edge of something. A cliff doesn't have to be big, I don't think.
Yeah. We didn't get super adventurous when it came to cliff diving.
I wasn't trying to die.
Well, we
did see some people jumping off of... That wasn't even a cliff. That was a mountain. They were jumping off of
that was more of a mountain.
According to The Guardian, the height is not the primary factor in determining whether a rock face is considered a cliff.
A cliff just needs to be a flat portion on the backside. Not necessarily exactly flat, but it needs to be the end of something that you can go off of.
It was a very tiny cliff. But when I hear the term cliff, it just makes me think of a very, very high surface.
Ours was probably 15 feet,
maybe.
I feel like that's a cliff.
Yeah. But
if you drove a car off of that, you would be up a creek.
Correct. Well, here's the reason why I'm arguing, because then we looked across to the little boys that were jumping off the actual cliff 50 feet up. That's where I'm okay, that was a cliff. Ours was a mini little rock.
It was not a rock. It was more. It was a
small
cliff.
Someone said
a small cliff.
Someone said they don't call it rock jumping.
Okay, well,
thank you. Good job in the comments. Keep it going.
Rock diving, actually. rock jumping and cliff diving. We rock jumped.
We're gonna
the
put
younger
next
kids
show.
cliff
I'm putting
dove.
up the cliff, and we're gonna talk about how it's a cliff and not a rock.
Anyways, we had the best time in Italy rock jumping in Capri. It was absolutely amazing.
That
but
makes
that's
us sound
why
like
we
such
weren't-
losers. Oh yeah, they were cliff diving, but I'm over here rock jumping. I don't know what y'all do on your vacations, but have you ever been rock jumping?
And I was too scared to dive or do a backflip or anything, so I just jumped.
You were rock
You had
jumping.
a sick cannonball though. You're good at this.
I have had 6 concussions, so I'm not allowed to dive. My neurologist would have a conniption fit. So would my mother. So yeah, I have perfected. I'm darn near, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Like, I think I'm getting pretty close to having an elite cannonball.
No, it was really great. Like
Thank you.
Your form was fantastic because
Yeah.
the thing with cannonballs is a lot of the time you will see people start off great. The height that people get
You have to commit.
on the initial jump is great. You've got to be in a ball form, but when they hit the water, they usually
They
relax
flounder.
a little bit and they
Yeah.
flounder. You stuck with it from
No.
the beginning to the end. And
I actually
you made a big splash.
I actually had bruises on the bottom of my thighs because I
See,
cannonball
that
so much.
should be criteria
Which-
for a great cannonball.
That should get me to the point of doing cliff jumping instead of rock jumping. You don't get bruises from rock jumping.
I guess. I had a bruise. It was kind of high. Okay, it was high.
We're
up there, 15
back.
feet. We're back. We're back.
VNA's also in there.
We're and if you look to my, I guess in the control room, it's Mr. VNA.
Way to ruin the allure of television.
I swear you almost said Mr.
Miss
Pickle.
VNA Moreno. She's the producer of Women Talking Football. Hey V,
What's going on, y'all?
how's your last couple weeks been?
Lonely, quiet.
Definitely quiet. Everybody's like, yeah, it was
No
so quiet in the
brunettes.
office without you two yapping all the time.
No, that was.
I like to say that I had to laugh a little harder at Carter's jokes in order to maintain positivity here.
I hope he's watching.
The
'Cause he would
sympathy
get
laugh.
butthurt from that, the literal sympathy laugh. But anyways, we're glad to be back. It's been a while. I guess the last time we did WTF was probably back in June. So from June to August, we kind of took a little bit of a break. But now it's football season. Tomorrow will be exactly 2 weeks from the start of the 2024 Texas high school football season. And that's something that we want to talk about today. We want to get you up to date on all of the key dates for the 2024 Texas high school football season. We'll make sure you are in the know with everything that's happening, all the dates to look out for this upcoming school year. And in the back half of the show, we're going to go DJ mode.
Wicked. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
If you're a DJ,
This was my
please
idea,
comment.
okay?
No,
I
it was your
get
idea.
that.
It was your idea. But in the back half of the show, we're going to go DJ mode, and each of us picked 5 songs that are absolutely necessary to have on your pregame warm-up list.
Oh, that's what you did? I picked the ones that I assumed would be the most played. Like, if you go to a stadium, what songs are you guaranteed to hear?
I did that too.
Okay.
Well, I picked my
Okay,
most
so that's
popular
fine.
songs.
VNA and I will argue about what songs. Yeah, the way that I did my list, and that's fine. Now we get the Mallory
Okay.
Hartley special.
Well, I can also chime in with that too, because I definitely have I cheered in high school, so I definitely know like the songs that were most played.
Yeah, I was thinking right now, when you go out to a stadium, what are the top 5 songs that you are most likely to hear? That's how V and I made our list. So then
Okay.
we'll get to see what DJ Mallory would swat to the side out of normalcy.
I don't know if I would play these songs necessarily in a stadium.
See, that's where I
but-
was going with it, because that's part of the thing that we'll get into is you do have to think about what you can and can't play, which is it
correct.
shaped my playlist a little
I'm
bit.
thinking like in the locker room. Like what
Also
are
that,
we
I did that
listening
too.
like in the
Okay,
locker
so
room?
mine is more of a
uncensored.
locker room type
Yeah.
playlist. Like the songs that I put on my list are definitely songs that you're going to hear in the locker room.
Okay.
Maybe not necessarily a stadium, but like the songs that
I did a mix of both.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Oh, cool. Well, we can discuss that. But stay tuned for WTF DJ.
Wake up.
Every time I say that, you have to.
You gotta get
That's-
some
I can do
sound
that.
effects coming soon.
coming soon.
I am the drop board.
Correct. All right, but before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the dates that you will absolutely have to mark down in your calendars for the 2024 Texas high school football season. And one of the dates that I wanted to put on this list, it already passed.
Yeah.
So I decided to just kind of keep it off and we'll talk about it. So the first date is August 17th. That's the first day of full contact practice for 5 and 6A teams that participated in spring ball.
Yes.
So August 10th was the first day of contact practice for 1A through 4A and 5 and 6A programs that did not participate in spring practice.
Yeah, and a reason just kind of going into why that is honestly because you can have the opportunity to participate in those spring practices really just because you have enough kids to be able to do that.
Right.
It's not going to necessarily take away from the other sports. When you get down into the smaller schools, when basketball, the end of basketball, which is way sooner than that, but like baseball and all of that stuff is going on, those kind of summer spring practices can take away from having that work time with some of your star players. Most of the time you've got a big enough swath of people to be able to do that. And two, likely the other side of it is you likely have a lot of 5 and 6A programs have indoor practice facilities. So you can be out there in the heat and not have to worry about it. A lot of the lower classifications don't have that. So it's more of a health risk to have your students out there in that time of year. Yep. So those are just a couple of the varying factors that goes into why they are allowed to practice and not everybody else.
What was the team that Tepper and I and you were talking about last week or something that starts practice at 5:30 in the morning and they go to like 7:30 because it's so dang hot, because it's down there in the south where the humidity is crazy.
It was, I can't remember which school exactly it was. Tepper's probably screaming at us in the comments, but it was definitely down in kind of like the Beaumont, Victoria area.
Galveston, maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
Galveston. Anyway, but it was down
Coastal
there.
Bend. It was definitely on the Coastal
Bend because if you remember, the UIL has implemented the wet bulb ruling, which takes in the factor not only of the heat, but the way that the humidity, it's mainly to help out with the humidity because 95 up here is really hot, but 95 down there is even hotter because you're dealing with 90% humidity. So yes, there are teams down south that have to practice at 5:30 in the morning because come 9 o'clock in this month, 9 o'clock in the morning, the wet bulb would knock them out of practicing.
Right. It already is so hot by that point.
Which is good. The wet bulb is good.
Yes.
This is for the safety of the student athletes. So this is a very good thing. Does it make it fair? Yeah, because everyone's staying healthy.
Yeah, right. The humidity makes a huge difference. That's for sure. All right, and let's move it down to the first week of the Texas high school football season. Like I said earlier, we're almost exactly 2 weeks away from the start of the Texas high school football season. It starts on Thursday, August 29th. And then, of course, the 30th is that Friday. And then we've got a couple of pretty good games, too, on the 31st, which is that Saturday. And I would say, honestly, we've got a pretty good slate looking ahead to week 1 of this season. We've, of course, already been talking about our spotlight games that we want to talk about for our first episode of Texas football tonight, which will be airing at 7:30 on August 30th. Episode 1. Very excited for that. And yeah, we've got a pretty good slate. So I'm pretty excited for week 1.
Yeah, and we'll get into it more next week. There are some big headliners week 1. Obviously, I mean, I think to each their own. There's a lot of really good district games, but one of my favorite times of the year are the first 3 weeks of the Texas high school football season when you start seeing a lot of that, whether it's cross-regional matchups, whether it's cross-classification matchups.
A lot of 5-6A matchups.
And a lot of people, like, for instance, think about South Oak Cliff. They go out typically every year and they'll play a DeSoto, they'll play a Duncanville, they'll play a North Shore. You know, they play people that they don't necessarily, or to a level of competition that they might not have in their district to prep them for playoffs. Well, what does that mean? That means it's popcorn eating time.
Right.
You know, it is kick your feet up and watch some Texas high school football time.
Exactly.
I love the first 3 weeks of the season.
I do too. We get a sneak peek. We get a little Alito and Denton Geyer action too. The rematch. I am so excited for that
wild
ending that we had. Double overtime, wasn't it, or something like that? I mean, I remember it went into overtime because we had to extend our broadcast a little bit, but that was a fun game. So we'll looking forward to that matchup week 1. And then October 3rd through 5th, that is the midway point of the Texas high school football regular season. Of course, you've got a couple weeks of the playoffs towards the end, but the regular season is the midway point in the regular season is October 3rd through the 5th. And at that point, you kind of start to get a little bit of a better feeling of how these teams are going to be seeded out during the playoffs. And maybe there's kind of that lull. A lot of teams are kind of taking their bye weeks that week. There's a lot of district matchups that might not be as good, or some of them are really good. It's kind of a weird time.
That's usually
in
a
the
fairly
season.
decent week, because usually week 4 and week 7, those are the two massive bye weeks based off of how it works out. Because a lot of teams, if you are able to get those all 10 games in and you've got the 8-team district or the 8-team district, then you're good. So most of them take off in week 4, and then you'll see a lot of the 6-man games be off in week 7 because of their smaller districts, or anybody that might have that 5-team, 6-team districts. Week 4 and week 7 are the big weeks that everyone takes off.
Yeah. And then speaking of hitting that 10 game max there, November 9th is the district certification, and it's where teams have 11 weeks to play a max of 10 games. And right there is that date to kind of keep an eye on, because that kind of you got to get all 10 of your district games in by that point, I believe, is what that is saying. Because, of course, that's like the week before the first week of the playoffs. And usually teams, of course, will take a bye week here and there before that point. But at that point, you should have 10 of your regular season games locked down and played before you get into the playoffs.
You don't have to have 10 games played. You don't have to. That's just the point. That most teams play 10 games.
Right.
Do. You do not have to, by any stretch of the means, play 10 games. But what you do have to do is have all of your district games concluded
district
by
games.
that
Yes,
point.
district games. District games. For sure.
Because again, 11 weeks. Most everybody takes a week off. Not everybody does.
Because then seeding matters at that point.
A lot of people always take a week off, but there are teams that take 2 weeks off if they can't, for whatever reason, get that other non-district team to play or anything like that. But you just have to have your district games concluded at that point.
Yeah, because at that point, seeding really matters for the playoffs.
And you could play a district game at any point in time. I mean, you could play it in week 1 of the season if you agreed on it. Most people do a couple of non-district, and
you
then
just have to have all of your all your playoff game, or all of your district games played by November 9th. And of course, that's the week before the first week of the Texas high school football playoffs. And I'm already so excited for that point in the season. I just love playoff time. I mean, of course we love the regular season too, but playoff time is just a different type of football, especially down here in the South. Like the playoff time here for Texas high school football is just unlike any other. Yeah. I mean, you see teams going at it, and it's so much fun. So of course there's 5 weeks of that. And then December 18th through the 21st, it's the granddaddy of them all. Yeah, well, actually 1 game a day. Yeah. Actually, we've changed it. No, it's the granddaddy of them all. It's the 2024 Texas High School Football State Championship games. And it's a little bit early this year, right?
No, it's later.
Oh, it's later this year.
Yeah, this is
Well, honestly, I guess when was the last game last year? Is this... Oh, I guess you're right. Maybe the 19th.
This is pretty average. This is pretty average. Every now and then.
Yeah, because we started a week early last year.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a year from now. We go until like the 23rd. There have been, in my 4 years doing this, there have been times where we've ended on the 23rd, and there have been times where we've ended on the 18th. It just kind of depends. This is, I would say, probably the most average draw of a state championship span that you're going to get.
Right. So yeah, there you go. Some key dates to know before heading into the 2024 Texas high school football season, only 2 weeks away. So we are in full swing here at Dave Campbell's Texas football. The best time of the year. We are Women Talking Football. We're here every Wednesday at noon talking football around the Lone Star State. Sometimes we'll talk basketball, just depending on the year. But mostly football. We're a mostly football podcast. Before we get to DJ WTF.
Wicka.
WTF DJ. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
I feel like bustin' loose. Bustin' loose. Come on. Get on up. Oh, yeah. Get on up.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support, virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
Wing is the largest residential drone delivery provider in the world, delivering to your home in less than 30 minutes. Order using an app just like other popular delivery services, and Wing's automated drone takes care of the rest. It's fast, safe, and sustainable, and it's now delivering to parts of Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. You can learn more at wing.com/TexasFootball. Again, that's wing.com/TexasFootball.
Welcome back to Women Talking Football, and it's time to talk some music. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big music person. I always have been my entire life. I feel like I relate more to music than I do movies, so this was a fun list for me to pick out, and I had a different criteria when picking out this list. You two picked your songs based off what you were going to hear in stadiums for pregame for high school football games or in locker rooms. I picked mine based off of my personal pumped up,
Mallory
get hyped up.
ISO and said,
I
forget
called
the rest
ISO.
of you. I'm making my playlist.
I did, but if you'll look behind me, you can see some of my songs there, but I feel like all of these songs will be played in a locker room at some point during the year.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, we've got Big League by Moneybagg Yo and Yo Gotti. That one's a super fun song to listen to. I know every single word to that song, by the way.
I can confirm.
I can confirm. Yeah, it's very, very fun. And then March Madness. I feel like that's a pretty staple when it comes to hyped up songs because it's talking about obviously March Madness in the NCAA basketball tournament.
I was just going to say, see, this is where this differs because I don't think that's being played in a whole lot of football locker rooms. Like,
I think it is.
Based off of, I think it.
It's
is,
just it's
but you
just
also
a hyped
love
up song
that
in general
more than like anybody that I know. It's good, but I think
I heard it all the time. Like in locker rooms and stuff. Well, yeah, I know. But I mean, I also feel like they play it in football stadiums too. Well, not stadiums, but locker rooms. Or I'm also just kids listening to music on their own too. I feel like that's like a song that you would listen to because it's a good beat. It gets you hyped up just for whatever. Because also one of the criteria that I went through or that I had to check off in my head when making this list, one of them was like, does this song talk about you being like the best?
Yeah.
You know? And that song does. So I feel like it could be a good hyped up song. I mean, you could say the same thing about Big League. I mean, it talks about basketball, but like I still feel like you're hearing that in football locker rooms too. And then Forever, I feel like that's a pretty staple too when it comes to getting hyped up, you know, in a locker room. It, again, talks about being the best, and it gets you hyped up. It's got a good beat. It's automatic. When you listen to that song, you automatically start getting hyped up. There's no slow start. It's just like, bang, right off the gates. You hear, like, the sirens, and it's like, boom, about to play a Texas high school football game.
Yeah.
And then Grove Street Party, there's no explanation necessary. That song gets you hyped. Yeah, I mean, that gets you hyped for literally anything. I mean, you throw that on when you're about to go to the dentist, you'll get hyped up for the dentist, honestly. If you haven't heard it, listen to it.
That's our criteria.
Another criteria.
Songs that
if the song even gets you
dentist.
hyped up to go to the dentist, then yeah, like that's got to be on your pregame warm-up list.
It could be a scary place. I hate the dentist.
I do too.
So.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know if anything could get me hyped up to go to the dentist, to be honest with you.
I mean, you get your teeth cleaned.
But if something could, I guess it would be that.
Yeah. And then Wow by Post Malone. Another criteria that what I with this song was that it talks about being the best, and it talks about, hey, look at me, I'm wow, you know. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna play that before a game, and I get that hyped up. Also, if I heard any of these songs in a stadium before I'm about to watch my favorite team play, I'm getting hyped up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I went through and picked my top 5 songs.
That would get you hyped up. Yeah,
that would get me
makes sense.
hyped up for the season. Or
I
guess
still
before
disagree
a
with March
game.
Madness being played in a lot of football locker rooms, but I see what you're saying. Like, I know that would get you hyped up. I don't know. I just, from a football perspective, I can't disassociate it. Like, Big League makes sense because, like,
But Big League is
it's
also about
all
the NBA.
basketball. Yeah, no, absolutely. But it
also talks about you being the best.
Yeah, it has enough of that. Like, March Madness is so hard in on being basketball.
Yeah.
I cannot separate that in my mind.
But
I will say, the moment March rolls around, like if I am at a conference tournament and I hear that song, I'm losing my marbles.
Okay, fair enough. I'll accept that, but I still disagree.
And that's great. That's the whole point of a list like this.
Yeah, correct.
All right, who's next?
All right, who's next? Yours.
Me. Okay, so I did it different than you did it. I did it of if I walked into a high school football stadium or locker room, either one, it doesn't matter. When I go on Thursday nights to a game, these are the songs that I think are absolutely going to be heard at some point, most likely at all stadiums. So Texas has to be one of them by Big X the Plug. Like,
especially here, right.
Yeah, I'm talking about when I go out this season to a game, I'm hearing this somewhere, whether that's
from Texas, Maine.
Yeah, like it's absolutely happening. So I literally think, especially when we get to state, I think we're going to hear this song over and over and over again this year because we haven't gone through a high school football season with it like fully being a song. So I think that's going to be the most used song this season in Texas high school football.
Okay.
Not Like Us by Kendrick is another easy one. That is on the top charts right now. It's the perfect amount of players are going to be able to rap that, and you don't have to be necessarily super skilled to do it. But you know for a fact when the wide receivers are warming up, they're rapping that song.
I agree.
100%. I think Yeah Glow will be another one.
See, that I disagree with that one.
So I feel like it depends on where you're at, but that is a song that will get the stadium hyped up because a lot more people than just football players are going to know that one, and you don't have to know the rest of it. It's just going to be the drop of Yeah Glow that's going to be used. I think it'll be very short amount of times, but you're going to see the cheerleaders lose their mind when that song comes on.
Yeah, I don't think the stands would though. I think maybe like the high school kids
I think
know that song.
Correct.
I don't think the parents necessarily in the stands would.
No, absolutely not.
And
the parents are not going to know that.
Right.
But I'm saying that the student section and I went with like away from the football players a little bit on this. I think the student section and the cheerleaders are going to lose their mind when that song comes on. Just because it's something that everyone could yell all at once.
Yeah.
Here's where I figured I would differ from anybody else's list because all of these songs that we've mentioned so far are basically rap songs, and we've got to think about that there's a lot more to Texas high school football than just rap. There's a lot of communities, and I think this goes back to all my sideline reporting days that I was going to these super small schools.
Yeah.
They're not blaring Yeah Glow in Albany, Texas, but what they are going to be blaring is I Had Some Help by Morgan Wallen and Post Malone because it is enough of a good beat song that's upbeat that ties in the country aspect to it. So I figured I would throw y'all all for a loop there by adding like a country song in. But I've been to so many stadiums where honestly they're playing George Strait beforehand. Like they're playing that. So this is like a little bit new of a revived country artist. And then Fiend by Travis Scott. That one is just kind of one that
pretty popular right now.
It's
too.
just popular.
Yeah. It's got a great beat to it.
Great beat. It doesn't have like a lot of bad words. You're not having to blur out a lot of stuff, you know, like, and honestly, that one is a lot more about the music than the audio, like the lyrics. You're not focusing on the lyrics in that song, but that first initial like that comes in.
It's one of those entrances where when it starts playing, you know exactly what song it is.
100%.
And that also is a great criteria for songs to be played in the stadium. Do you know within the first 3 seconds of the song playing what song it is? And if that's play it in the stadium. And so Fiend is a great example of that.
Texas being the Texas thing is just going to be played because also too, I can say this coming from like a super small town. Like I was a person in a very small country town that did like rap. But even if you're not the biggest rap fan, people can get behind that song because it's about Texas. The Not Like Us is going to be straight up a warm-up song that the players request. Yeah, Glow is going to be something that will be very short and get the other people pumped up. I Had Some Help is a staple of small country.
I don't think I've heard that Morgan Wallen song.
Yeah, you have. I know you have because we played it in Italy, but you'll hear it. It's the one with Post Malone. You'll know it when you hear it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Post Malone's a good
Post
Malone. And the good thing about Post Malone, not the good thing, but like the thing about Post Malone, you'll definitely hear some of his songs in stadiums because there's a lot of clean versions.
Yeah,
to his songs.
Yeah, there's not many bad words.
Like wow. I bet you'll hear wow in a stadium because that one again gets you hyped up, and there's a clean version to that song as well.
My honorable mention here is Survival of the Fittest, because I think much like you were saying, like Big League March Madness, like something you put on in your headphones beforehand. Survival of the Fittest is absolutely one of those. Like that's the song that I picture the player sitting there in the locker room, putting on his headphones, like getting in the zone. So I kind of went like try to do an all-encompassing type of list there.
Wow. Yeah.
But that's where that was my thought process through all of them.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
It.
Yeah.
Hey Mal, do you want to include your honorable mention that you had mentioned?
No, that's okay.
Why?
That's all right.
Talk about songs that are not appropriate for air.
Correct.
On to you, V&A.
Well, actually, in the comments, Tepper said in all caps, NLE Choppa. So,
our Lord and Savior.
Can we
on to B's
person.
picks.
So we can go on to the next
person. I almost put Fiend on my list too, by the way.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. We cross over on two of those.
It's pretty popular. So mine, I'm thinking like. Whenever I was going into this, I'm thinking, well, first of all, as a 24-year-old in 2024, songs that I like to get hyped to, and when I'm working out, I work out every day. Try to work out every day. This is kind of songs that I listen to, and then obviously what's popular, also what's popular on TikTok and on social media. And so, and new stuff that came out. So Kanye obviously dropped an album. And one of the songs on there is called Field Trip. And it's a pretty, one of the most popular in the album.
Yeah.
That is in my opinion. So I think that one is going to be, going to start rolling out in this new season. Obviously Fiend by Travis Scott. It's just that beginning is just like it just gets you in the zone.
It hits you.
It hits. Not Like Us, very, very popular over the summer. So we're gonna bring in those popular songs.
Yeah, popularity is a big thing.
It's
absolutely.
It's just like what everyone. It's like what everyone knows,
correct,
and what like overall like.
Well, and you brought up a great point is that song was popular in the summer, which means that this whole off season, those guys have been getting used to practicing or going out and throwing the ball around with that kind of stuff. And too, it's the same thing as like when a song comes out and you were a softball player and you know, like that's my walk up song. So you start prepping, which just gets the hype even more.
Right.
And obviously here, let me actually pop it up. So Field Trip, Fiend, Not Like Us, and then a really big popular song that was on TikTok was $1 Million Baby.
That's a Mallory Hartley joint right there.
That is a Mallory Hartley. I didn't put who. It's by Tommy Richmond. That's who it was. I had to look up who it was by. But that one's also pretty popular over the summer, pretty popular on TikTok. I think it might work its way into a couple, No,
I think it will. Absolutely.
And obviously another one that was also pretty popular on social media was Band for Band by Central C. I don't know if y'all heard that one. Maybe if y'all heard it, I feel like you guys would.
I was looking through a list and I was like, why do I feel like I know that? I listened to it this morning when I was looking through a list and I was like, oh, I do know this song. Because I was like, I feel like I do.
Yeah.
That guy, I think he's been getting pretty popular because of social media also, and he did some stuff with Ice Spice, and I think that's gonna work his way into that list of songs. So yeah.
Okay.
Those are my picks.
I like that list a lot. I think the only one I would maybe disagree with was $1 Million Baby, just because it has a great beat to it, but it's not like a hype up song.
Yeah.
But to your point, when picking songs, like it's very popular.
I almost wonder if that goes more into my category of Glow, that you're not thinking about it in the full song perspective, but if you think about it of whether like you're in between plays, or they're just doing that, like a huge stop on defense, and they play some music real fast. Yeah, Glow and $1 Million Baby both have those really key chorus parts to them that will get the crowd hype, and then it's going to go off. I agree, it's too slow to play the full song, but that I ain't never seen, like, that's going to be the perfect little thing, and then they're going to go into it.
Yeah. I've got one song that will absolutely probably be played in most stadiums. And it's an old song, but it played the entire song played every single game right before, every single pre-game before our games in high school, and it was Thunderstruck.
I was just fixing to.
Thunderstruck.
There's definitely those classics. Like, we could make a whole other list of the most classic, because I almost put Boys of Fall on here.
I almost put Thunderstruck on mine too. But that song, one, great intro. You hear the guitar, it's like like it just gets you going, right? And then it just opens up with AC/DC and like rah, and it's super popular right now with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I was
just fixing to say.
So it hits both criteria of being a pump up song, and it's super popular. Everybody knows that song right now.
If we're thinking what person is the DJ, like okay, so someone on the team is playing, someone on the team has aux or whatever, then these picks are pretty accurate. But if like a coach is putting on music, those might make their way in there, or like also stadium, those might make their way in there. But I think our picks were more of like who has aux type of deal.
Yes. Yeah. If I had aux, it would be Gaelic.
Yes, it would. And that's why I was like, I have to throw I wanted to put more country songs in there, because I was like, realistically, when you pull up to these stadiums, a lot of them you're hearing country music in, at least until the teams come out. That's the other thing. You could go pregame, as in pregame warm-ups, or you could go pregame as in there's butts in the stands, but the teams haven't come out yet. Because those two, even in like schools that more play stuff like this, like, there's still a difference between the pregame before the players come out and the pregame after the players come out. Like, it's two different things. Because you also don't want to be sitting there listening to hype up music for an hour before the game.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's for sure. So next week, I want you two to create your top 5 list of your songs that you want to hear pregame.
Okay.
Since I already did it.
Yeah.
I was looking ahead into the future.
Unfortunately,
Mallory said, "You want to hear my music?" Hold up.
You don't. I promise you
Pepper
don't.
Pepper is still wondering where this person named Enali Chapa is.
Pepper can keep wondering.
So, I don't know. Mallory, do you have anything to say?
No.
Okay.
That'll do it for us.
No. He's...
It's pretty...
So there you go, our top 5 songs. Mallory's actual top 5 songs to get her hyped. Mine and BNA's what we think will be some of the most top 5 played songs in high school football stadiums. If you have any, you can tweet at us. We would love to hear. We'll tweet out this graphic and specify the difference of the list, and then we can get your opinions. But B and I will come back next week with a quick rundown of what our top 5 songs on the old iPod would be.
On the old iPod. Old iPod Shuffle.
Old
Did y'all
iPod
have a shuffle?
I didn't have a shuffle.
I never had a shuffle.
I don't know what it was like to grow up and be rich.
Okay.
I got an iPod Touch. I think that was... I went from an MP...
I had a little MP3 player.
I had a little what are the little... I don't know, MP3, I guess it's called.
Do y'all remember y'all's first songs y'all had on y'all's?
I had a CD player, okay? Let's not get it twisted.
What first song?
I had a CD player.
I had Fergie, Miss Ma'am Fergie on mine.
I had a
good one.
I loved Honeybee by Blake Shelton.
I had Britney Spears.
Oh, yep. She still listens to Britney Spears to this day.
I had when I was real little, and this will be the last thing I say, but when I was real little, I had a little Barbie radio that took cassette tapes, and I had there was like one that came with the Barbie theme song on it, but the only other cassette tape I had was Britney Spears. Oops, I Did It Again.
Nice.
That rocked. I wore that cassette out.
Yeah. I had the entire Circus album on CD.
That rocks.
I
still listen to the entire Circus album at least once a week.
3rd grade or something, and I was like, all eyes on me in the center of the ring, just like a circus.
Yeah. Yeah, that checks out.
Nothing's changed.
That checks out.
We live together. She still does the same
Still
thing.
do the exact same thing. But anyways, what a great topic.
Thank you.
I love
This
it.
was great,
Again,
yeah.
I love music. I relate to music on a deeper level, I feel like, than on some people do. But I've always been a big music fan. So this was a fun list for me at least, to create, because these are my hyped up songs. So anyways, DJ Mal in the house. Call me.
Okay.
I can do your events. But anyways, guys, the season is super close. Again, we're only 2 weeks away from the start of the Texas high school football season. If you haven't already, which you should have already, be subscribed to TexanLive.com. Do you want like 60 to 100 games a week of Texas high school football and volleyball as well, I guess, if we're talking about the start of the season? We've got you covered on TexanLive.com.
Yeah, the John Turner Classic. If you're down in the Houston area and are a volleyball fan, we do literally over 100 volleyball games this weekend from the 15th through the 17th, the John Turner Classic. So all of our guys will be down in Houston, actually the 15th through the 18th, I think. But tune into TexanLive.com. Huge volleyball weekend.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes. So TexanLive.com/subscribe to get your... Is that right? TexanLive.com/subscribe? Correct. So get subscribed. If not now, get it before week 1 of the Texas high school football season. That'll do it for us. We're super pumped to be back here in studio. I missed you guys. I missed doing this show. It always brightens up my week.
Good.
Like I said, it's my favorite show on planet Earth. So, and next
High
week,
praise.
stay tuned for VNA and Ashley's top 5 hyped up songs that they would absolutely necessarily have to play on their playlist before playing a Texas high school football game. Until then, call me, DJ Mal. We'll see you next week.
Oh, Lord.